Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center. And it's that time of the week where we get to take a look at the coolest knives that have just hit our shelves. Let's check them out. Alright, the first thing this week is a new KnifeCenter exclusive joining the ranks. It's a new version of the Kershaw Bareknuckle, and this is upgraded over the standard versions. First of all, you can see we have a new color here. It's a dark brown or a dark brown earth aluminum handle with an upgraded blade steel. We've got CPM 20 CV here. And this comes in right now just under 120 bucks, and it may look a little familiar to you because we've actually got another version that we've had for a little bit here with a champagne gold aluminum handle with that 20 CV blade steel as well. We love this. I think they sell pretty well, but we wanted to mix it up a little bit and add a new color to the family. So now we've got this as well. That 20 CV is of course going to give you a lot more edge retention than the 14C28N of the standard versions, and it's got a great blade shape for just all around EDC types of uses. There's a little bit of a curvature to the edge here, not a lot of belly overall, but instead it comes to a very acute point. This is sort of a modified Wharncliffe profile, at least in terms of the way the actual tip is going to interface with things you're cutting. And then of course with that little bit of belly there, it's good for long sweeping types of cuts as well. Things especially like cardboard are going to be really susceptible to this blade. They're going to fall before this blade very easily. Because you don't have a ton of belly, the tip's not likely to slip out. Got that curvature to the edge, it's just ready to rip through some materials. As for lockup, we've got their sub-frame lock mechanism, and what's great about that is you get all the security of a standard frame lock because you've got that full-size lock bar there, but they're able to bring that cool aluminum with that anodized color onto the back side as well, since that lock bar is just anchored to that second piece of material here. Got a deep carry pocket clip that works on the left or the right side just as well, and of course the flipping action, KVT ball bearings in the pivot. This is not an assisted opening Kershaw, and it just fires open quite nicely. Made in the USA. It's a good steel. It's a really good price for what you're getting, and it's made right here. All right, I've got several new Spydercos to show you now. The Sun and the Moon Chaparral has come in. These start at 161. They are 161. They don't start at 161. And this is, of course, the Moon side. We've got black G10 with a mother of pearl inlay, and on the back we've got a white G10 with a red G10 inlay. It's a pretty cool effect, and the Chaparral is just one of those really cool designs that I think may be a little underappreciated in the market. It's certainly a fantastic design for everyday carry. Everything is nice and slim, not just the handle, but the blade steel itself, which we've got CTS XHP in this case. So that thin blade steel paired with that really, that full flat grind there. Excellent, excellent slicing geometry. Most Spydercos, in fact, do have really good slicing geometry, but this one just gets kicked up a notch by the factor of it being so thin to start with. The other thing that makes it great for EDC, you've got Spyderco's wire deep carry pocket clip. A little bit does stick up off the back, but it is reversible for either side as well. And unlike the sub frame lock on that Kershaw, when you reverse that clip around, the lock itself is still right-hand biased. With the Chaparral, you've got a mid-mounted lock back, so either hand can use it just the same way, whether you're lefty or a righty. It's going to work in exactly the same fashion. And of course, you got that ambidextrous opening hole. So this really is a cool knife for just about anyone out there. Now the blade length itself is under 3 inches when you measure it from the tip back to the scale here. But the sharpened edge itself is a little bit more like 2 3/8, or just about. Because of course you've got Spyderco's 50/50 finger choil here that lets you get a nice full 4-fingered grip on this knife, even though it is on the smaller side, so you really can feel confident when you need to do some bigger cuts. Now next up is a new version of the Delica, one of the all-time Spyderco classics. Still has the lightweight FRN handle scales, but we've got an upgrade here to K390 blade steel, and this comes in at $115.50 right now, which you're getting a ton of performance for that price. You thought the 120 or thereabouts for that CPM 20 CV blade steel was a good deal. With K390, you've got one of the highest edge retention knives out there, or highest edge retention steels commonly used in folding knives out there. Although I shouldn't say commonly, they're certainly not too common in the production knife world. So you get an absolute ton of performance paired with a go anywhere handle. You've got Spyderco's bidirectional texturing there, so you're going to be able to maintain grip just about anywhere. Also a fully ambidextrous knife. You got a 4-position pocket clip, mid-mounted back lock, ambidextrous opening, everything anyone could want when they're going to actually use the knife. I think there's 2 things though that make this extra special. First of all, obviously I mentioned the price. Normally you don't see this type of really, really high performance blade steel unless you're gonna spend a ton of money along with it with a nice fancier knife. And the only downside to that, I think, is for the folks that are out there that could actually benefit the most from the performance of this steel are probably the kind of folks that can't afford a $200, $300, $400 or up dollar knife. So you really are kind of getting the power to the people in this kind of design. You can kind of think of it as like a souped up muscle car versus a European supercar, if you want to go at it from that perspective. And the other thing that makes this thing special is this is not a sprint run either. This is a regular catalog line item, so you don't have to rush to get one if you can't quite afford it just yet. There's going to be some time. I really appreciate this. It's a really significant upgrade over the VG10 standard models, which are still a great choice, don't get me wrong. But the edge retention on something like K390, you just can't deny it. They're just fantastic. Only real downside to this steel, if you want to call it that, is it's not entirely rust resistant. This is not a stainless steel, so just take care of it. It'll take care of you if you do so. In addition to that, we've got the Man Bug lightweight in K390 is also brand new and just now in. That comes in about just over 72 bucks. And we've still got the Ladybug in K390 as well for about 60. All right, last but not least from Spyderco, we've got a new Gale Bradley design, the Nightstick dagger or boot knife, if you want to call it that. I say if you want to call it that. The sheath is not quite a boot compatible. It's Bolter-on with a nice G-clip, so you can carry it inside the waistband or outside very easily. But it definitely does have kind of that boot knife aesthetic though, for sure. And this comes in at $210 right now. Blade steel's S30V, just over 4 inches long of it. And you've got double grinds on here, but only a single sharpened edge. This is not a double-edged blade. Because of that, you don't have to worry about the ramifications of carrying a double-edged blade. And it's also, if you need to put your finger or your thumb up there to actually get a little bit of muscle behind the cut, the edge is kind of thin, but it is definitely more comfortable than cutting yourself. As for the handle, we've got a polished black G10, very thin as you can see. So this really is going to be something that's going to carry very flat, very easily on your person. It's not going to stick out or bulge too much. You got a couple tie-offs here or a couple tubes here if you wanted to do something interesting with that, like add a lanyard up here or add some kind of cordage here that could aid in a retention in the hand type of system. You've got that option there. If you want a little bit more grip on a knife like this, if you're not too keen on the polish, you can always take a little bit of rougher sandpaper or maybe some rougher Scotch-Brite and just kind of scuff that up a little bit to suit your own personal tastes. All right, next up, we've got some Microtech to show you. And I've got a Bounty Hunter Combat Troodon. At least when we're filming this, we do still have a couple of these in stock. They are quite expensive, $727 right now, but just look at how cool this thing is. You've got a plain edge Tonto blade with the apocalyptic finish on the sides there, and that goes perfectly with this Bounty Hunter inspired handle coloration. You know the one I'm talking about. We're talking about Boba Fett. So for those of you Mandalorian fans out there as well, this would be an awesome pickup. Obviously the colors on the front, well, the colors of the frame and the red accents are lifted from the classic Boba Fett attire. And you've even got some nice chipped paint look going on here. Goes well with the distressed stuff, and you got that Mandalorian inspired symbol there. You even got a milling pattern here that resembles the Boba Fett jetpack. Because behind all the cool looks, it's still a Microtech, so you know you've got fantastic performance. The things are built solid. The action is always really good. Nice, crisp out the front action. It's just a real cool, one of those things that if you're a Star Wars fan, it just makes you smile, you know? And it's not too kind of ostentatious or over the top, I think, either. It just comes together in a really cool fashion. These are always popular when they do come out with batches of them. So if you do want one, it's expensive, but don't wait too long. All right, next up we've got another Microtech, and this might be the cheapest Microtech we've got on the site right now, because it's not actually a knife. This is the TAC-p. It's a stainless steel spike coming in at 77 bucks right now. Of course, you could use this as kind of your everyday carry ice pick. As you can see, it is hollow here, but the edge right here does come down to a fairly sharp edge, and you could lay that flat on a stone if you want and kind of strop the back edge as you go to get it even sharper. So in a pinch, this could work pretty okay for opening boxes, maybe even some letters, stuff like that. Really kind of rudimentary cuts. It could definitely pull things off if you need it. You've got a stonewashed finish here and a frag milling pattern here on the handle itself or on the portion you'd be gripping. So you can actually get some decent amount of grip or a decent amount of retention in your hand. You're not gonna have to worry about it slipping around too much. There's also a nice little ramp here with a little bit of light frag patterning there as well. You can place your thumb, maybe get behind that pointy end right there for some more detailed types of cuts. And then on the back, you've got a glass breaker as well. As for carrying this, you've got a Kydex sheath. Pops in there, you got a cool carbon fiber look and a nice ulti clip. So you can slide it into your pocket, hook that over, clamp it down. It's not going anywhere. And you'll be able to get to that just as soon as you need it. All right, next up we've got a new brand for us here at the Knife Center. This is from PMP Knives. This knife is called the User slip joint, comes in at about $160. That's a rather interesting name for a knife like this, because with a name like User, I might have expected a more workman's-like aesthetic. Instead, this is actually a fantastic little gentleman's knife. Kind of reminds me of some of the Lion Steel stuff out there, actually. The blade is about 3 1/8 of an inch long, M390 steel, and like that Chaparral I was talking about earlier, nice thin blade stock paired with a full flat grind. And this knife, even more so than that Spyderco, which is rather impressive, has a fantastically thin edge, and it is quite sharp. As soon as you feel it, you know this thing is ready to cut, and it's got the efficiency to back up that long-lasting edge as well. As for the handles, we've got carbon fiber here on the main section with some titanium bolsters, wire deep carry pocket clip, very similar to Spyderco's, and it is even deeper than that Chaparral. And also you'll notice no lock here on the back. This is actually a slip joint. You got a nice half stop there, and the walk and talk is pretty good. Solid middle of the pack, I'd say. It's not a super snappy action, but it does feel really good. There's going to be enough handle length here, even for bigger hands though, which is quite nice. My slightly larger than average hands still do have a little bit extra here on the back. They're able to achieve that a little bit through the use of a very similar trick to Spyderco in that finger choil right there. It does come up right onto the heel of the sharpened edge there, so do be careful when you're using the knife. All right, next up we've got a bunch of new models from Kislyar Supreme, a Russian company. I'm going to show a few this week and probably a few in the following weeks as well, because there are quite a bit. This first one is called the Kaspian, and it's fixed blade, as you can see, coming in just over 100. This is about 103 right now. For that, you're going to get about a 5.5 inch blade with this nice clip point with D2 blade steel. It's got a nice stone-washed finish on it, which I like, and a hollow grind. And with this type of shape, this type of geometry, good mid-size to larger hunting knife that's also going to transition over into some combat roles a little bit as well. What's most impressive though, or at least one of the first things I noticed about this knife as soon as I picked it up, is its weight, or more accurately, the lack thereof. This is barely over 6 ounces for just the blade, which for this much steel is really impressive. And really, I think that's down to the way they spec this out. The blade steel is not super thick. It's only 1/8 of an inch, which is plenty, let's be honest. And the wood here, and it is a wood handle. It's a Carpinus hornbeam wood. Probably saying that wrong, but you get this almost ebony-like look. So the wood itself doesn't weigh too much, certainly doesn't weigh as much as G10 or micarta, and just judging by the balance, I bet you there's some strategic skeletonization on the tang underneath so that you remove some weight there. And it's really well done because the balance itself sits right there on the index finger, which is really nice. It's a feature I always appreciate because as you're moving the knife around, you're not actually going to be fighting the weight distribution of the knife. When it sits right there, it's just going to be a very agile feeling blade. It's also got a nice leather sheath. It's done very well also. Throw it in there. The leather's plenty thick enough. You've got a nice welt on the side, belt loop on the back with a dangler. If you want to take that dangler off, you might have to actually cut this piece here. But like some of the JRE Industries sheaths out there, you can simply fold it underneath and run your belt through the standard section right there. All right, next up is a new bushcraft design from Kislyar. This is the Forester, which comes in about 112 right now. This is a shorter knife than that Kaspian, but the blade steel is a little bit more premium. We've got N690 here, about 4.6 inches of it. And it's a nice solid design for everyday bushcrafting and woodworking. Well, if you're an everyday bushcrafter or woodworker, or even if you're just the guy who likes to go camping and do a bunch of wood carving and bushcraft while you're out there, this is going to be a really good choice, especially for that price. Good solid amount of blade length to play with, and you've got a Scandi Vex grind here, so it's going to work exceptionally well when carving wood, making traps, tent stakes, feather sticks, what have you, and it's going to be very easy to maintain as well. I find these even, for me personally, even easier to maintain than a true flat Scandi, just because I'm very comfortable with a strop for my sharpening methods, and that's going to work exceptionally well with this type of geometry. Handles here are walnut, no hard to pronounce names for me this time. And it does have some diagonal milling on the top, or on the sides I should say, while the top and the bottom are left smooth. And as I show you that top and bottom angle, you can see there's a pretty decent swell there as well. This does a really good job of feeling very comfortable in the hand, and a lot of bushcrafters are going to appreciate this as well. No finger guard here to get in the way of kind of those really intricate detail cuts when you're working right there on the heel of the blade. You can get right there behind the edge with your hand and get close up on your work and be good to go. Now, the one place where this knife kind of breaks with tradition with a lot of bushcraft knives out there is the spine isn't super crisp. It feels okay, but I can't definitively say that this will strike a fire steel without testing it. And of course, I'm not going to test it on one of our inventory knives here. So if you do happen to have one of these or have tried one of these out and it works, you can let us know in the comments. It's pretty close. If it's not crisp enough already to do it, you could probably spend a little bit of time with a stone and flatten it out just a little bit more, and that's going to work very well. Leather sheath on this one, as you can see, has kind of a crocodilian pattern, lasered or embossed into the leather itself. You've got a strap here to hold it, belt loop and dangler on the back, just like that other one, as well as a fire steel loop on the side. All right, the last fixed blade from Kislyar today is the Shark fixed blade, and this one comes in about 147 right now. Now, the first thing I noticed upon picking this knife up is it's not as heavy as I was expecting. It's not a lightweight like this Kaspian was. This one is a almost 11-ounce knife, but I was expecting it to be even more. And the reasons for that is, or I think the biggest reason for that is, they weren't going for this being kind of a sharpened pry bar style of survival knife. If you'll notice, we've got a full flat grind on the steel here and a nice distal taper as you get out towards the tip. And this is an over 6-inch blade. So you're not really maintaining any weight out there near the tip for a heavier hit when you're swinging it. Instead, they're just going for long reach with excellent slicing characteristics. And because of that distal taper as well, the balance point on this knife sits almost at the index finger. It's just a little bit forward, kind of at the back edge of the finger guard itself. So even in that standard grip, it doesn't feel too unwieldy, but if you really want some real fine control over the heel of that blade, they've got that full-size finger choil right there. You can choke up and get going right there. Now, don't get me wrong, this knife is still going to be plenty strong, I think. They use a Loman PGK steel, which it has sort of a similar compositional makeup as CPM Crewware, but this is not a particle metallurgy steel, so it's not going to be that equal in performance. But from the little research I've been doing on it, you sort of expect to have something with edge retention similar or maybe a little better to D2 while being significantly tougher than D2, so it is still going to stand up. And because of those characteristics and the fact that right back here at the full thickness, we are dealing with 3/16 of an inch of thickness, it is going to be able to stand up to some heavier jobs if you need it to. The handles here are again walnut, but no swell on this one, but still a nice comfortable feel overall. Sheath on this guy is a little bit different. Rather than one of the more pouch style sheaths, we have a more traditional, or well, depending on whose tradition, we've got more of a pancake style sheath with a retention strap here on the front. Still got the dangler on the back, as well as the standard belt loop, and you've got a nice Shark on the front, since this is the Shark model. All right, last but not least is a flipper from Kislyar. This is the Blok X, coming in about 108. Now, if you're like me, you probably see a little bit of zero tolerance hinderer DNA in this design, especially here at the flipper tab. You can kind of see some of those elements. But of course, this is not a clone, and it is significantly cheaper. So if you're going sort of for that type of vibe of some of those ZT models, but you can't afford it, this might be a good place to look. Still going to be pretty good performance too. Blade itself is almost 4 inches long, and we've got Sleipner steel here. So again, something it's going to give you more edge retention than something like that D2. Decent amount of thickness for some good lateral strength, although this is a folder. If you want true strength, go for the fixed blade, of course. As for the handles, they are a little bit on the blockier side, but you've got G10 with a nice radial pattern here. Definitely a lot to grab onto though, and especially if you were wearing work gloves, you definitely are going to have a solid feeling tool on the job. Action is pretty good as well. You've got ball bearings in the pivot, and it flips open just fine. Lockup itself is provided by that liner lock there. Again, we see a wire deep carry pocket clip, or almost deep carry pocket clip, reversible for either side. And as you can see from there also, kind of furthering the workman-like vibe, you've got an open-backed construction that's going to be very easy to keep clean. All right, that's all I've got to show you this week. Make sure to leave us a note in the comments about what you liked, what you didn't like, what you maybe had some mixed feelings about. And if you want to get your hands on any of these cool knives, we will leave links in the description to take you over to KnifeCenter.com. And be sure you sign up for our Knife Rewards program while you're over there, because if you're going to spend your money on one of these cool knives, you might as well earn some free money to spend on your next one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time.